One. I very often feel that my hair is not doing anything for me. It just kind of sits there, it's lifeless, it doesn't have energy. And last week, before Yom Kippur, in addition to doing teshuvah as best I could, I was having a significant case of hair despair. Because Wednesday night, Thursday, I was going to be seeing a lot of the congregation. Didn't feel that it was working. So I said to my wife, Shira, I think I'm going to go see Tammy. Tammy is the stylist I've been seeing at Delaria. And Shira says, why? And I said, because Yom Kippur is coming, and I'm going to see a lot of the shul, and my hair is not doing anything for me. And she said, I think your hair is fine. And I said, fine? That's all you can say. 36 years of marriage. That's all you can say. It's doing fine. Can you say anything else? She said, I think your hair is sparse. Sparse. Well, this was very demotivating to me. So I just decided to stick with the teshuvah. I'll deal with the hair later. So Wednesday night, Kol Nidre, Thursday, Yom Kippur, Thursday night, Ne'ilah. First thing, Friday morning, the day after the Day of Atonement, I'm in the chair with Tammy at Delaria. And I think it was cosmic karma that had me there just at that time, because she said something that gave me a whole new insight into Sukkot. I've been with Tammy for a long time, so I know that Monday is her day off. And I asked her what she was going to be doing on her day off this coming Monday. And she said she's very excited about it because she's actually coming into Delaria on her day off. And I said, why? And she said, I'm learning how to color hair. And I said, you're learning how to color hair? But how long have you been a stylist? She said, oh, for more than 30 years. And I said, and as a stylist for more than 30 years, haven't you already been coloring people's hair? And she said, of course. And I said, how many people's hair have you colored over 30 years? And she said, in the thousands, but too many to count. So I said, so then why are you going on your day off? To learn how to color hair. And she said, because I could always color hair better. And then I asked her, if you go on Monday to learn how to color hair better, will that change your practice on Tuesday? And she said, for sure. That's the whole reason I'm doing it. I want to learn how I can color hair better. And I'm going to put that into play the next day. Now, and she had genuine energy when she said this. So now I want to link this up with Sukkot. You all know, we've been davening it, that Sukkot is Zaman Simchatenu, the festival of our joy. V'samachta b'chagecha, rejoice in the festival. And the usual explanation for Sukkot is about the fine art of being able to rejoice with what does not last. The sukkah is ephemeral, it doesn't last. The lulav and etrog are ephemeral, they do not last. Sukkot takes place, you can even feel it, the rumble and the thunder, the hint of the weather changing. It takes place in fall, which is always a portent of winter. And you feel a nip in the air in the fall, and that tells you there's going to be a significant chill in the air with winter. And in the face of all that doesn't last, like life itself, we just finished Yom Kippur last week, Sukkot reminds us that you can still get joy in what is temporary by deeply savoring it. Own what you have while you have it, love what you have while you have it. That's a beautiful lesson of Sukkot. But Tammy's Torah is a whole new move, because the traditional view of Sukkot is it's an 8-day joy. But Tammy gives us a way in to how you could have joy not for 8 days, but joy for the ages. You could have colored hair thousands of times. You could have colored hair for 30 years. But you wake up Tuesday morning with new energy because you're doing it better. Now, the Talmud teaches something that I had always known, but I didn't think about as deeply until I talked to Tammy. This is a great statement. It's got to be in one of the top 10 quotable quotes from the Talmud. You cannot compare somebody who has learned something only 100 times to somebody who has learned it 101 times. You cannot compare somebody who has learned something only 100 times to somebody who has learned something 101 times, meaning that even after 100 times, on that 101st time, you learn how to color hair better. So I'm going to give you 3 quick examples of that in different work and justice contexts. Work context. I will never forget this. Back in the days pre-pandemic, when lots of people used to come to shul, inside, no masks, our beloved teacher, Micha Goodman, was in town. And it was a classic Micha weekend. Amy keeps count of exactly how many. It's at 11, 12, 13, 14 before COVID came. But it was one of those, and it was the whole, hundreds of people. And he had been giving these classes and lectures and sermons, and it was all brilliant, and hundreds of people came. And then Saturday afternoon, he changes into shorts, and he's sitting on the sofa, and he's just unwinding by reading a book. And I ask him what he's reading, and the book that he's reading is The Case for God by Karen Armstrong. And The Case for God by Karen Armstrong came out in 2009, and it was written in the context of debating with atheists like Christopher Hitchens, trying to make the case for God in a world where the atheist posture was ascendant. And at this point, Micha had already written a best-selling book about God from the point of view of Yehuda Halevi, and a best-selling book about God from the point of view of Maimonides, Rambam, and a best-selling book, all this in Israel, about God from the point of view of Moses' ultimate sermon, Deuteronomy lectures that he also gave in Tikva. So he's written books, plural, about God that are bestsellers in Israel, and he's reading The Case for God by Karen Armstrong, and I say, Micha, why are you reading that? And he says, I want to learn how to talk about God, and I want to learn how to think about God better. How do we do that? Whatever is the work of your life, how do you color hair better? Then I want to give you 2 examples from the justice space. So we're getting ready to help refugees from Afghanistan resettle in Boston. And the main move, the basic template of the folks who are energized about this work is, several years ago, our congregation helped refugees from Syria come to Boston and resettle. And their basic move is, we did this, and it was significant involvement for the families who really did this sacred work. What did we do that worked? Let's keep doing it. What did we do that didn't work? Let's not do that. What can we learn from success and failure? How do we tweak it? How do we do our refugee effort for Afghan refugees more effectively than we did for Syrian refugees? That's coloring hair better. And I'll give you one last example, and this is just so current. This literally, came into my mailbox at home 2 days ago. You would think something like anti-Semitism is thousands of years old. What's there new to say about anti-Semitism? But you can color hair better with anti-Semitism in trying to understand what is it, how does it manifest, what are the roots of it, and how do we combat it? Can you imagine 2,000 years of facing this? We still don't really know what it is or how to define it. And there's an article in this month's Moment about, and in fact, the board of Temple Emmanuel is taking up a position that several of our members want us to endorse, the International Holocaust Remembrance Association view of anti-Semitism. I didn't even know what this was when they came and brought it to us. It's been adopted by 36 countries. It's been adopted by the United States. And Rob Likend is going to be educating our board. And then it turns out, of course, Jews, 3 Jews, 4 opinions. Letty Pogrebin has this piece in Moment that's only one definition of anti-Semitism. There are 2 others as well. It's very fraught. It's very contentious. We're thinking about how do we do the understanding of Jewish self-preservation, understanding threats to Judaism better and more effectively. That is coloring your hair better. That's not 30 years. That's a 2,000-year project. We're still trying to get that right. The person who learns something only 100 times is not in the same category as somebody who learns it 101 times. So far we're talking about work, justice, Afghan refugees, anti-Semitism. I want to bring this home and end that with home. Here's a question for you. All of us have relationships. How can you be a better spouse to your spouse? How can you be a better parent to your child? How can you be a better child to your parent? How can you be a better brother or sister to your brothers and sisters? This idea of coloring hair better, taking a relationship that is as old as you are and doing it differently, doing it better. That's joy for the ages. So my Bible on this is a book called Married People Staying Together in the Age of Divorce by Francine Klagsbrun. And she talks to many couples who are married 40, 50, 60 years and beyond. And they describe themselves as choosing to do this. This is not like negative energy, like we're stuck and it was just too complicated to get divorced. No, these are people who, like, the driving orientation of their life is I'm married to my partner. And I just get endless joy, endless meaning, endless purpose. Until my last breath, I am going to be married to my partner 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and beyond. And Francine Klagsbrun asked them, what's your secret sauce? Because there's so many people who can't do that. Like, everybody falls in love, but not everybody stays in love. Everybody feels joy and juice and energy when they're under their chuppah, but how do you do that 60 years later? So here is her answer. Change is inevitable in marriage as in life. Partners become involved in work and pull back from work. Children are born, go to school, leave home. Spouses age, get sick, drop old interests, take on new interests, make new friends, live through the sorrows of old ones. Parents get old and die. Couples move from apartments to houses and back to apartments, from one town to another. Changes bring anxieties and disequilibrium. Yet in the strongest marriages, each partner is able to make mid-course corrections, almost like astronauts, as one psychiatrist puts it. That is, they are both able to adapt to the change that is happening in the marriage or in the other partner, and, when called for, to change themselves. That is a lens that it says what used to work may not work anymore. What used to work may need revision so that it can work better. What used to work may not be optimal now. There may be a better way to color hair. And if you can internalize that, that makes for a great long-term marriage. That makes for a great long-term hairstylist. And that makes for joy that lasts more than 8 days, but joy that lasts for the ages. Chag Sameach. We